Hello everyone, TP Gaming here, and welcome back to Her Story. If you missed the first two episodes, make sure you go and check them out before watching this, and then you'll be all nicely caught up. Now, I actually recorded this and then found out that it had recorded with completely no sound. So if you don't see any kind of new icon for the videos we're going to be watching, that's because I've already seen them. But I will still be bringing them to you so you can keep playing along with me. So, what I was thinking at the beginning of the episode was going through some of the search items that I had on my piece of paper that I hadn't gone through yet. The first one of those was kill, which brought up quite a few videos. But only one of these was a new video. So I went ahead and watched that, which is this one.
I mean, what if they were crazy? You hear about these crazy people all the time. I mean, why would anyone who knew Simon want to kill him?
So this is where I'm thinking, we don't know Simon is dead, right? We've been through the videos, and I wasn't aware that he'd been killed. I thought that he'd just gone missing, and that was pretty much where we were up to in the story, right? I hadn't even considered that. I mean, I thought he'd been murdered. I thought that's where it was going, but where had the accusations ever come from? So that led me to type in confess, because I thought, well, maybe there's been some sort of confession that we've just not seen. That brings up one video, and that was this one.
Okay, you got me. I'll confess. We were there. It was a dirty weekend. Simon was going to expense it, pretend it was a business trip. I used a made-up name. We stayed at the hotel, had room service, didn't leave the room, had a great view of the river, and you could hear the church bells. Like you said, it was very romantic.
So, I think there she is referring to Oxford. When Simon apparently went to Oxford, didn't he, for a dirty weekend or whatever it was, and I believe that's what she was talking about. So I think Eve has gone with Simon to Oxford, so she is having an affair with Simon behind Hannah's back. Although, as we found out before, they live, this is what I believe is two people, twins. This is twins living a single life. So they they'll meet a man, and they'll both date him as one person, but they will tag in and out. We've already established this. So she has been, for some reason, it's not been like that with Simon. It's not been a shared thing with Simon. But Eve has been doing it anyway, and I think that is where we're starting to unravel some of this mystery. So the next thing I had on my paper from the previous episode was stories, and that brought us up this new video.
Okay. Sounds weird. I'm not great at making up stories.
You see, not great at making up stories. That didn't give us anything, but I will say they are both very good at making up stories. If there are two people in this world good at making stories, it's these two. I then typed in argument, because I had that on my paper, but that came up with nothing, surprisingly. But then I shortened it to argue, which I will type in now, and that brought us up another new clip.
When you've been married for 10 years, stuff accumulates. We could argue about anything. And he's so nice. That doesn't help. He tries to smooth things over, and that just makes it worse. We're both passive-aggressive, so we never normally argue directly about anything.
So then from there, I typed in Brighton, but that didn't come up with anything either because they talked about their trip to Brighton in one of the previous videos. So then I typed in the word body. And this is where it started to get interesting, because when you type body in, suddenly we have a lot of clips. Now, we had seen this one, but it was 4 brand new clips.
The bruise. I have a really fast metabolism, so stuff like that just comes and goes. I don't know if there's much more that I can tell you that I haven't already told the other policeman. I found the body.
So at this point, it started to dawn on me, I think she's talking about Simon. She's talking about Simon's body. It wasn't really clear earlier in the other 2 episodes what really has happened here, but it sounds like she's found Simon's body, and she talks about a bruise. So keep bruise in your mind, because we will search that in a second.
His body did not real. And his throat. It looked like his throat had been cut. And I didn't see his glasses. There's these thick glasses. It doesn't always wear.
So that there, confirmation that she has definitely found Simon's body with a cut throat. She doesn't say where, but she found the body, which is quite a breakthrough, because we now pretty much 100% know Simon has been murdered, but we don't know who murdered him, why, or even when. Then we get another song. She finishes off the song from before.
Here's the rest. Laid a body on the dock to dry. Oh, the wind and the rain, till a fiddler with a fiddle came walking by. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. And he made a fiddle bow of her long hair. Oh, the wind and the rain. Yes, he made a fiddle bow of her long blonde hair. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. And he made fiddle pegs of her finger bows. Oh, the wind and the rain. Yes, he made fiddle pegs from her finger bows. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. And he made a fiddle out of her breastbone. Oh, the wind and rain. The sound could pierce a heart of stone. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. But the only tune that the fiddle could play was, oh, the wind and the rain. Yes, the only tune that the fiddle could play was, oh, the dreadful wind and rain.
I mean, that's just odd.
Maybe you used as evidence against you.
That's just odd, isn't it? A roundabout. I mean, it's odd anyway, playing the guitar in what is, I believe at this point, a suspected murder interview, right? You're there because they think you either might have killed somebody or they want to clear you from their suspect list, and you sit there and give a concert and they applaud in the room. It seems odd to me. I don't know if that would ever happen in real life. Usually you see these things. I mean, I've never been in that position myself, so I don't know, but usually see these things in real life on TV. You know, they press the tape to record, and there you go. You know, you just do your interview. You don't whip out a guitar and start singing and have an audience with, I think this is Eve, an audience with Eve. Crazy.
Can you imagine? I tried. I tried to get pregnant too, but it didn't happen. I slept with so many boys, men. My body refused. I think my period stopped because hers had. I was pretty ill. I mean, how could we stay the same now? I felt like Hannah had really fucked things up. Set us down separate paths. We had become different.
So I think there that Eve is clearly jealous of the fact that Hannah is pregnant. Again, remember she was pregnant before, but she had a miscarriage. But now she's pregnant again. She's carrying Simon's baby. She's already bitter by the fact that Simon's different and they're not allowed to share Simon. They're not allowed to do this shared life anymore. And all of that change has happened. And now this extra nail in the coffin of Hannah being pregnant is probably meaning that this now becomes my number one suspect. Because she has a lot of motive to get Simon out of the picture now. So she can have her life back with Hannah. That they can keep doing their two people live one life thing that they've been doing for years. And what better way to get to that than take out the man that's really caused them to split? It's broken the two sisters apart at this point, and this is my belief at this point. Let's type in share, because as we've heard, they do like to share pretty much everything. This brought up two new clips, this one and this one.
When beautiful people died, we always felt like it was a sign. You remember Princess Grace Kelly? She died in a car crash the year before we met Simon. We used a Ouija board to speak to her, and that gave us the power to find him. That's what we thought then. That people who died tragically leave some kind of magic behind. We used to share dreams. We used to wake up and write them down in our diaries immediately and compare them. It lasted about 6 months. I tried to carry on, but everything was different. Hannah insisted I not pretend to be her around Simon, let alone sleep with him. We didn't share him like the others. The rules had changed. Me living in the attic had become weird in a way it hadn't been before.
So you see what I mean there? Hannah is, I don't know if she's outgrowing the thing that they used to do, but she clearly wants her own individual life now. And I don't think that is necessarily setting in well with Eve. I got the word weird from that clip, and that brought us to this video.
Well, fine, considering. I got back into the house today, and that was weird, knowing your people had been there through my things. It's like I'd been burgled. And worse, obviously. I don't know. I haven't looked in the cellar yet. They sent a cleaner in. As good as new, he said. But they had to throw some stuff out. Couldn't get the blood out. And I'm still waiting to hear from the coroner so we can get a date set for the funeral. It's going to be a cremation. So...
And this is where I think it's dawning on me. Remember when she was speaking about finding the body, or I'm sure she said bodies at the time, but she found the body in a bin bag in the cellar. Now I thought she was talking about her parents who had been weirdly killed by mushrooms or whatever it was, that I still think had something to do with either of these two. But I think now, thinking back, I'm pretty certain she was talking about Simon. And she was talking about that Simon had been found in the cellar in a bin bag. So that's what she's talking about there. I'm sort of 99% certain that's what she's talking about there. So I typed in blood, which brought up 4 new clips actually, which is pretty good when you get to this stage of the game.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
I've given blood before. Do you need to take that for your records?
that was pretty much pointless.
Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. The blood. It's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
And it was this clip.
Like I said before, it was 3, something like that.
And this is where it gets very, very interesting.
I walked in, saw Simon. He was on the floor of the living room. His throat had been cut. There was a lot of blood. Yeah, he was dead.
Where are those seagulls coming from? Like, I know they're in Portsmouth, I think, but why are there seagulls inside this? You would think the interview room would be closed off from a lot of other rooms, but that is the first time that we've heard a description of the scene, and that's Eve telling us that. So she saw the body there.
She was sat behind him. She had my wig on. And she'd been there all day. And she had blood on her. And she was in shock.
And there we have it. Pretty much a full-on accusation there that Hannah murdered Simon. Obviously, we need to know the full story. At this point, I got a chit-chat icon came up here, and I could click that to proceed to the end of the game. Obviously, that won't happen here, but I will show you the clip of that. But I thought, well, I need to know more. I need to know why this all transpired. So I typed in throat next, because that was what was explained there, and then watched these 2 clips.
On his throat. How? Her story is that she'd waited for him to come back. She put on my wig, some of my clothes, pretended to be me. They talked. She'd enjoyed being me. He said he wanted to be with me. Then he took out a present, another mirror, just like the one he'd given her earlier. That unique present. She went crazy, smashed the mirror. They argued, screamed. He hit her. So she grabbed a piece of the mirror and just swung it round. She cut his throat clean open. She'd only meant to scare him off.
So there's a lot to unpack there in that clip. So what I think's happened is Simon and Eve have been having an affair. We know that from the trip to Oxford. They've been having an affair, and Simon wants to be with Eve. That's obviously sparked the argument there. And Hannah, whether she meant to do it or not, I mean, obviously she said she didn't mean to do it there, but she's swung round and slashed Simon's throat and killed him. Now, whether she did that because she was angry that he'd been having an affair with Eve and everything and the whole just thing, and then she just decided, you know what, and just killed him in cold blood, we'll never know. But it's Hannah that has killed Simon. And Eve has come back later in the day and found this, and the two of them have covered the murder up. I then typed in mirror, because obviously the mirror was mentioned 3 or 4 times. We've got these 3 new clips with mirror.
It wasn't the present so much. It was one of those arguments that had been simmering for a while. The present was a mirror, a nice mirror. He'd engraved the glass, the kind of mirror a princess would have in a story. He made it specially for me. The mirror. I can't remember. I put it somewhere safe. Upstairs, I think. I haven't looked at it since.
So I still don't know what prompts Eve to tell us all this information, either. What prompted Eve to break down and basically sing her sister's, story here? Why has she decided to say, you know what, my sister did this? Why has she done that? I don't know why she's done that, because up to this point, these two have pulled off pretty much the perfect murder, because for a large portion of this, you don't know whether you're talking to Hannah or Eve. They have abilities to,
Silverleaf?
beat each other all of the time.
He normally silvers them properly. This mirror, it's supposed to look antique. The reflection isn't as good. It's the perfect mirror for someone who doesn't like to look at their own reflection.
I then typed in wig, which brought up 4 new clips.
A wig? You mean... But what type of wig? No, I've never worn a wig. What kind of wig? This other person doesn't exist. I don't know what the blonde wig is, but it could be anything. Have you looked at the cat flap?
So this is obviously information we needed to get earlier.
This was about 9. I went round and she was waiting for me. She was furious and so angry, the kind of anger you can only have towards yourself. We screamed at each other, argued, cried, we fought. I hit her back, left a bruise. I had my wig on from performing, she tore it off. Eventually, we grew tired of fighting and I left.
So let's carry on tidying up some loose ends. So cat flap brings us this video.
No cat. My parents had a cat before they died called Domino. It was this little black thing with white dots. And we never did anything about the cat flap, but if you were thin, you could maybe squeeze through it. We loved our cat, Domino. He had this little bell around his neck to stop him from killing birds in the garden. And we used to write each other notes and put them in the bell, and we could send them to each other. Mum found some of the notes once and she thought I was just writing to myself because our handwriting was identical. And we had our own words for things, so she didn't quite understand them anyway.
The next thing I typed in was bruise. Because obviously we heard about the bruise. I only brought one clip, unfortunately.
Bruise? Oh, yeah, no, it's nothing. I was going through the top cupboard in my kitchen and the chair slipped and I kind of hit the door with my face. We hurt like hell.
Which we now know, of course, to be a lie, because she actually got it in the fight with her sister. And then I wrote in hit, which gave us this clip.
It's like I told you before, I drove. I took the car and drove. I don't have my own car, but I have a spare set of keys. I just drove north. I wanted to think, put some space between me and them. Everything I told you before is true. I stopped at Glasgow. I was tired, exhausted. I pulled out and I hit a car. My car was okay, but I was worried about the baby, so I went to A&E to get the okay. Everything was fine. Slept in the car. When I woke, I tried to call Hannah from a payphone. She wasn't answering. And then I decided to drive back. I had decided that she was more important to me than Simon.
Which is why Hannah had Eve has the alibi of being in Glasgow. She'd driven right up there while all of this was taking place. Arrest gave us another 3 clips.
Like I said, I think I was popping out to get something, ran out of something, had to grab something. I sometimes drive too fast. If you want, you can arrest me for that. This is a nicer room. This is where you take people when it's time to arrest them. Can you arrest someone who doesn't exist?
See, at this point, this is where they're still pretending to be each other a little bit. So then I want to have a look at Cellar.
It happened very quickly. We hardly had to talk to each other. We agreed almost silently. The baby was what mattered. We'd help each other. We cleaned up. We bagged up the broken mirror, her clothes. They're gone. We took him down to the cellar. We knew we had an alibi, and we wanted the body to be found later. We wanted to have suspicion on us, so we could then disprove it, rather than have it linger. Better to keep the body in the house than risk being seen with it. The watch, that was my touch, to make sure the alibi stuck.
And there you have it. What could have been the perfect murder. Because, to be honest with you, through large parts of this, although I thought Simon had been murdered, I wouldn't have known which of them had done it. They both had alibis because they could, Eve can quite easily pretend to be Hannah and say, look, I was here, and then people would vouch for it because they think they're talking to Hannah. The same with Eve, There would be absolutely almost no way of proving that they had anything to do with Simon's death. I don't know why Eve started singing and told us everything. I have absolutely no idea why, what prompted her to do that. I've run out of things that I can think of to search. I'm sure there's a few more, and maybe we'll, I don't know, unclog that mystery somehow. But yeah, so Hannah has killed Simon in maybe an accidental fit of rage, finding out he'd had an affair with Eve. Of course, she was heartbroken. She smashes the mirror on the floor. She slashes his throat. Realizes what she's done, and then breaks down and stays in shock for many hours until Eve returns from Glasgow, walks in, finds the scene, and they clean it up. They put him in the basement, come up with some cover stories, and to be honest with you, I think would have gotten away with it had they have not decided to speak about it. So at this point, I click on the chit chat icon, which I will show you. So when you open the chit chat icon, you get this, which is chit chat SB. How's it going down there? You done? I said yes, and then you wait for your reply. Good. And then we've got this little flash up here. So you think you understand why your mother did what she did, and I was a little bit confused by that question. I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. Why are you asking this? What's that got to do with anything? So I was originally going to put yes, but then I decided no, because I'm not entirely sure what you're on about, thinking that we'd get some sort of conversation. It says, that's understandable, Sarah. You can always come back again. I'll be outside, log off and meet me on the road. So I'm thinking, who is Sarah? And so I type in Sarah's name and watch this clip, and then it dawns on me just what this game is actually about.
I would have been a good mother. I was young, but I would have been a good mother. She was a girl, by the way, the baby. We were going to call her Sarah. Simon wanted to call her Ava after his nana, but I didn't want her to have a symmetrical name.
And there we have it. So she was going to call her first baby, the baby she miscarried, Sarah. What then happened was that she called her baby she was pregnant with during these interviews Sarah. We, for the entirety of this game, have been Sarah, the daughter of Hannah, the niece of Eve, and we have been trying to find out what happened to our father, what happened, why our mother did what she did, what role Eve played in all of this. Sarah has been the one investigating the entire thing, trying to find the truth about her parents. And then it went to the credits, and that was the game. An intriguing, brilliant game. Full of confusion. And an interesting and quite a difficult case to solve in terms of we didn't know, as you can see on the screen right now, we didn't know until probably 3/4 of the way through the game whether this was somebody suffering with schizophrenia or if it was indeed two different people. We deduced that they are twins. But the whole purpose of the investigation was so that Sarah could find out what happened to her father, why her mother did what she did, the role her auntie played in it, And that was her story. If you have enjoyed this video, enjoyed the series, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be back very soon with plenty more videos. And I'll see you next time.